When it comes to the twin flame journey, a lot of teachers, a lot of mentors, a lot of twin flame guides get caught up in teaching about this path from the more spiritual lens. Yes, this is a highly spiritual dynamic, and yes, there is a lot of spiritual components that happen within our connection. And also, too, how we are here to serve is deeply spiritual as well. But oftentimes that spiritual part of it, that spiritual lens can be a bit of a distraction for the feminine. She can get caught up in these high level spiritual concepts when she's actually not ready for them yet. And these become something that get her off her path. And ultimately she ends up avoiding what she actually needs to do in regards to inner work. Because when we focus on the energy that's happening within the connection through tarot readings or what it is that the masculine is navigating through, you're actually taking your focus off of yourself. And a lot of times too, feminines are constantly looking for signs outside of themselves, signs and synchronicities to remind them, like to confirm, I should say, that they're on this twin flame journey, when you have to be able to find that within you and not to rely on those things. Like signs and synchronicities always come after the fact. And a lot of feminines will say, well, I saw this sign and I felt like it was, a sign from my twin flame. Or I saw an angel number and I looked it up and it says this about my twin flame journey. Not everything is about your twin flame journey. When it comes to the spiritual aspect of this journey, it's a small portion of the journey, but it's not everything. When it comes to your twin flame journey, it's a small portion of who you are as a human being. So for example, when we look for signs, we're trying to look for them to verify that we're on the right path. And signs and synchronicities always come after the fact. For example, right now, I see 555 everywhere. I've been seeing it for the last couple months. And it's a number I see most often on my path because I'm always cultivating more change in my life to help me propel me forward, which is why I wear the number 555 a lot. Like you might have seen in my previous videos, or if you follow me on TikTok, you'll see I wear it all the time because it's a constant reminder for me that I am creating change in my life. That if whatever I see in my external reality I don't like, I'm the one that's responsible for creating that shift. I'm the one that's needing to do the work. And when I see 555, I don't automatically think, and I've never been this way, be like, oh, I better look up to see what that means in regards to the twin flame journey. I'm like, no, I need to look that up to see what it means about me, right? Because I've seen in Facebook communities and stuff, when I first started navigating this journey, I was part of them. I do not recommend them at all. I remember reading a post where somebody said, oh, I saw this angel number and I was wondering what it meant. And so many people were like, it means union. It means union. It means union. And I was like, no, I'm like, that doesn't mean union. And first of all, the feminine will never know when union occurs because we don't know when it's going to occur. Because if we did, we would probably self-sabotage it and we would do everything to try to push it away despite wanting union. So what happens then is when we focus on all of these things, we actually neglect our physical body and our energetic body. And we have to remember that our journey as twin flames is about our own spiritual awakening. It's our version of how we awaken. We have been blessed and gifted with another person who mirrors us directly to help us understand more aspects of ourselves. And that is a very basic understanding of it. And actually, that's the only understanding that you ever have about this path. And that it's a spiritual connection. That's great. That's all you really need to know. And if you're constantly looking up more information about understanding this path, I would encourage you to ask yourself questions of like, why do I feel like I need to know more? And is there a part of you that's trying to force and push the process versus allowing yourself to evolve and grow in a way that feels right to you? And to remember that your journey and how you navigate this path is highly personal as well. And I want to get back to what the topic of this video is actually about. It's about understanding that you have to also take care of your physical vessel and you also have to take care of your energetic body. Because when it comes to our physical body, if your body is dysregulated, none of the none of the actual stabilization that you do within your reality is going to matter, because no matter how much you try to create stability in your external reality, if your body is dysregulated, your body will not be able to receive it. It will not be able to hold it, and it will end up actually crumbling. Trust me, I know I've done this time and time again in my life. And when I was writing and thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, the one thing that came to my mind, and this is something that has stuck with me forever on my journey, because this was one of the best pieces of advice that my beloved had given me. And it was shortly after we had broken up, and he had told me, and I wrote about this in my weekly newsletter, I've talked about this in other videos, is that he had told me that I needed to become stable in my life. I needed to be able to take care of myself and provide for myself. And I didn't understand what it was that he meant at that time. And I kept kind of asking him questions. He's like, you need to be able to take care of you. And he's like, it's more than just finances. Because at that time and throughout my whole entire life, like my financial part of my journey was always my biggest obstacle, my biggest challenge. And it's something that I continue to expand and grow into through awareness, through capacity, through embodiment, all of that. But I later on down the road started to understand what it was that he meant. He was telling me that I really needed to take care of myself emotionally, mentally, physically, energetically, financially, and spiritually. And we have to be able to have a good foundation in all of those areas in order for a union to happen. Because if the foundation of those areas isn't built, when union occurs, it's going to crumble. And then you may go back into separation. And so one of the things that I knew early on in my journey was to start building foundations in my life. And I had to build a foundation of emotional stability, meaning I was emotionally intelligent, meaning I felt my emotions. And yet at the same time, I did not allow my emotions to dictate what it is that I did in life. Mentally, I had to look at what mental loops and stories was I playing in my life every day. Mentally, how did I view myself? What was my identity? And how did I see myself in regards to being able to navigate through things? So as you go through these things, and I talked a little bit about this last week in another video about looking at these areas of your life, because when it comes to this journey, most feminines skip the body, taking care of the body and the energetic body. And this is why some of these patterns that you experience keep repeating. And this is part of the reason why you also don't have any change occurring within your own personal journey, let alone your twin flame journey. So we have to remember that, yes, we are spiritual beings, having a human experience. And that is an amazing understanding to have. But yet we are also here to master many things in this lifetime. We're here to understand and master abundance, energetics, manifestations, like all of it. And we're here to be part of this world that we live in. We're part of being able to cultivate and create the life that we desire. And I think right now within the spiritual community and even within the Twin Flame collective, there is this spiritual egoism that's happening within the collectives. Meaning like you're not spiritual enough unless if you're vegan, unless if you do this and do this and do this, and you don't wear this type of clothes and don't do this, right? But the reality is here as human beings, we're here to experience all that we can here on earth, all that we can here in this lifetime. And that even includes meaning like if you want to go to a high-end fancy restaurant and order yourself a Wagyu beef steak, then go for it and have an amazing glass of Cabernet with your friends. Go for it. Or if that means traveling to another country for a month and enjoying your life, go for it. Like you are here to experience all that we can, right? And when we do this from a place of embodiment, when we do this in place of joy and pleasure, there's a different frequency, a different vibration, a different experience that occurs for you. And so when we learn how to understand how we operate from our emotions, our mental, our physical, our spiritual, our financial, and our energetic bodies, we can start to cultivate coherence. We can start to cultivate an aligned frequency within ourselves and a frequency that becomes magnetic, because at the end of the day, inner union that you're wanting to cultivate within you, and that is one of the steps that you have to actually get into before you can get into 3D union. Some of you are trying to do 3D union before you're in inner union. I tried that. It doesn't work. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. It's inner union isn't a mindset or a frequency. It's something that your body has to actually be able to hold. And it's in an embodiment. And when you come into inner union in the beginning, it's like coming together like this. And then you might go out a little bit and then to come back together like this. And then you go out a little bit more and you come back together like this. Is meaning your inner feminine and masculine until you're intertwined like this, right? And that takes time. That takes practice. That takes embodiment. That takes actually being able to shift what it feels like within your body. So when it comes to looking at those areas, honestly, the physical body is something that a lot of feminines actually struggle with. And in the beginning of your journey, and even throughout your whole entire life, if you resonate with my work, you might be somebody who is always trying to fix your body to get it to look the best that it can, because your worth, your identity is built upon how you look. And there might be a part of you that says, if I don't look a certain way, my beloved's not going to love me. If I don't look a certain way, I may not be successful. And you start trying to navigate this journey by fixing your body when there's really nothing to fix. Your body is simply communicating with you, and you're not listening to it. So I see a lot of feminines and I'm guilty of it, will like work out super rigid. They'll try to like control their eating habits. They'll try the next diet, the next detox plan. And instead, what they need to do is actually look at their beliefs around food, look at the dis-ease that's in their body, looking at the pain and the discomfort that's in their body, because all of that is communicating with you to help you understand the trapped emotions, the wounds, the conditioning, the limiting beliefs that are embodied within you. And so when you're not eating properly, when you're not hydrating properly, when you're not resting enough, when you're not moving your body and you're living in a chronic state of stress, your body, which is the vessel a vessel to the relationship you desire, can't hold that. I remember watching this video a while ago, like maybe 2 years ago, from a healer that I follow, and her name is Mary Lisa. And she was talking about the feminine, the body, and she looked at the body as a temple. And I heard this a long, long time ago from one of my cooks that I used to work with when I was a restaurant manager. He would tell me he didn't drink because he viewed his body as a temple. And that stuck with me. And I never really practiced it until the last few months where I was like, I have to start looking at my body as a temple, like you and worshiping your body in that way. And in this video, she talked about when you walk into a place where you might praise God or worship God, like a church or even a temple, whatever it might be, like when you walk in, you're not judging it, you're not shaming it, you're not going, oh God, that is so ugly. You're actually in amazement and in awe at what it is that's around you. And that's exactly how you have to look at your physical body and your physical being. This is a temple that you have decided to incarnate into in this lifetime. You have chosen everything about you. And when you are not honoring the temple that you are, you're not actually honoring God as well. And I was like really mind blown when she had said that. And it had really started to shift in how I look at my body and how I communicate with it and how I try to understand what it's trying to tell me. Because if your body is depleted, it means your magnetism is going to be depleted. Your ability to attract is going to be depleted. And I'm talking about your physical body right now, like your energy. So if you're constantly drained, you're constantly fried, you are overwhelmed all the time, you are in a constant state of survival, which means that you have no ability to attract your desires. And so one of the things that what I haven't really talked about with anybody is that right now I'm where I'm at in my journey. I'm in a season where I'm trying to massively expand and to create a huge shift in my journey. Because most of the time when I looked at the timeline that I was on and I wanted to make changes in my life, I would choose a timeline relatively close to the one that I'm on. So it would expand my capacity, expand my nervous system, expand things just a little bit, but not to where it was creating a lot of discomfort. This time my soul had guided me to expand in a really big way, which meant that it's asking me to do more inner work, more nervous system regulation, more embodiment practices than I had before. Because every time you want to expand, every time you want to raise your consciousness, it's going to ask you to do inner work in order to embody that frequency, that version of you that you're being called to embody. And so for me right now, like expanding to be able to hold more money, to hold more clients, to hold more joy, to hold more love, it's asking me to do a lot of work, a lot of nervous system work, a lot of sitting with myself, a lot of regulating, and a lot of feeling okay in the discomfort and not pushing it down, not trying to fix it. Because one of the things that I realized is that through the work that I've been doing, everything that I teach is because I've lived through it. I've navigated through it. I've gained the knowledge. I've applied it to my life, seen changes in my life, and then I get to share it with you. So everything that I share is through lived experience and from an embodied place. And so right now where I'm at, like I was saying, I'm moving away from creating a new life, creating abundance, creating a business from a place of peace, a place of calm, and not from urgency. And that is really different for me. So it's bringing up a lot of stuff for me to be able to explore and to see. Because I was really great in the past of always manifesting money when I needed it to pay a bill or to do something that I wanted to do, like to buy myself or something. But I wasn't ever really great at being able to manifest and create opportunities in my business that support the ease, the flow, the joy, the happiness. And so I'm walking away from creating from urgency. And let me tell you, that urgency, when it's wired in your nervous system, takes time because it's been wired in my nervous system because I've been operating that way for most of my life through my mind, through my distorted masculine energy. And I'm moving away from that and into this beautiful way to receive as a feminine, which is very nourishing, which is expansive and it flows. It's supposed to come from joy. It's supposed to come from happiness. And the last example that I want to talk about when it comes to your body is if your body is unstable, your relationships will feel unstable. Your twin flame journey will feel unstable. Your your friendships and even your family relationships and dynamics will be unstable. So I encourage you to start connecting with your body, asking your body, why is I'm feeling a little discomfort here? What is this here to tell me? If you have some type of disease, like maybe you struggle with diabetes. It's an opportunity for you to connect and understand why it is that your body has developed diabetes because it's giving you insight to yourself. Obviously, if you were born with this might be something different than something that you have created over your life. And so start to friend your body, get to know your body, understand it more. And when's the last time that you actually said thank you to your body? It's actually something I do every single day when I'm putting lotion on. I thank my body, thanking it for all that it does for me, all the ways that it's protected me, all the ways that it has helped me navigate through the things I've had to navigate through, all the things that I've got to experience from running a marathon to hiking in various places in the country. And so it's stuff like that. Like, where is it that you can start giving gratitude to your body? Because when you speak to your body, it listens. So the next layer to the body is the nervous system. And the nervous system is something when you start to understand how your nervous system operates, you can start to understand the patterns as well. But we have to be able to understand that there's fight, there's flight, there's freeze, and there's fawning. All of these things are the way that the nervous system operates. Some of us have been in fight or flight for so long, we eventually go into freeze or fawning. And freeze mode can feel like you don't want to do anything. Fight or flight is like you're running or fighting against something. And so these things can help us understand how have we been conditioned to be wired through our mind and through our body. Because when it comes to our twin flame dynamic, if you are obsessively thinking it means about your twin flame, it means your nervous system is activated. You have to be able to understand what is activating my nervous system, what pattern is in my nervous system. If you're checking, past posts or checking, last text messages, you're checking to see if your twin flame has posted or you're spiraling because you started thinking about them, then you're in a survival response. We cannot be in a survival response and in inner union or in 3D union. You have to understand what led you to that spiral and start unraveling that spiral. Or when you go to check his Facebook or go to check the messages that you have, what is it that you're hoping to gain? And instead of checking something or spiraling, how can you connect to yourself and say, it's okay? Whatever it is that is in that message isn't going to change anything right now. Whatever it is I'm going to see on Instagram or Facebook isn't going to change anything. It might actually lead me to spiraling. So instead, connect to yourself. And when it comes to the fear of the third party or being in the third party dynamic, this is a threat response within our nervous system because the other person starts threatening the connection that we have or that we believe to have with our twin flame. And when we can start to navigate and peel back these layers, we can start regulating a nervous system. We can start thriving versus surviving, and we can reduce the fear the threat of something externally ever coming in between us and our beloved, us and our goals, or whatever it might be in life. And a lot of times, what I see when I'm working with feminines, especially when they're newer to the journey and really haven't done a lot of nervous system regulation and understanding how their nervous system and body is communicating with them, is that what you think is the love or intuition is often actually dysregulation. So I want to give you an example of this because when we meet our beloved and we start connecting with them, maybe you go on a few dates with them or you're exchanging messages with them, there starts to become this part of you that gets butterflies in your stomach, right? Your heart is racing. Or perhaps you're in separation and no contact, and you have a message that pops up and says, oh my gosh, my beloved has texted me. And what happens? Your heart starts racing, maybe your palms are sweating, you get butterflies in your stomach. That's not love. And that's what actually a lot of people associate love with. That's actually dysregulation. That is actually fear that's in our nervous system. And this is one of the things that the feminine needs to be able to regulate within her. Because when we're dysregulated and we are constantly in these states of fight or flight, fawn or freeze, we can't connect to our body. It leads to gaining weight or holding weight, having an inflamed body. I know this all too well because I'm coming on this. And it's chronic tension in your body, right? Your neck, your shoulders, your hips, your low back. There's fatigue, there's burnout, and even hormonal disruption. And so all of these things are key indicators telling you that your body is dysregulated and that your body is screaming for attention. And this dynamic can actually cause a lot of stress because there's this part of the feminine that thinks, I need to be in union. There's urgency to get to union. If I'm not in union with him, then my life is never going to be the same. Or there's a fear of not ever being in union. And so you keep pushing and striving and trying to make things happen. And when you do that, it's going to lead to burnout. It's going to lead to exhaustion. And you're not actually going to really enjoy life because the bottom line is your body doesn't feel safe to receive the relationship that you desire. This is why you keep doing all of these survival responses, checking up on his social media, wondering why he hasn't messaged, obsessively thinking about him. And by doing that, it also keeps repeating this pattern of survival. Every time you obsessively think, every time you go to check to see when he's messaged you last or why he hasn't messaged or checked his Instagram, you are keeping yourself in a state of survival. And that will keep looping and looping and looping until you actually break the pattern and sit with that part of you. So when it comes to our physical body, we actually store a lot of patterns, a lot of emotions, a lot of conditioning and beliefs in our body as well. Because our patterns just aren't thoughts. They actually occur and are held in our body through the lived experiences that we have. So when we have been chosen last, maybe you were playing kickball when you were little and you were the last person to be chosen at a kickball game. Or if you were like me, maybe you a boy in your class when you were in elementary school, and instead of him choosing you, he chose another girl. And that happened time and time again, or you keep accepting bare minimum in life, accepting bare minimum in your relationship with your beloved. Or perhaps you keep attracting emotionally unavailable men. These patterns, when you have lived this over and over and over again, are in your body and are in your nervous system. And these patterns are oftentimes inherited and not just experienced, which means then there's a deeper layer of work to be done. And I know that this is true because I look at my abandonment wound. So when I was 10 years old, my father left us. My parents were getting divorced. I will never forget when I went to bed that night, he had told me he was leaving. So when I woke up in the next morning, he would not be there and he would not be returning to stay. and that he was going to have his own place. I was devastated. For years, and I mean years, decades even, I struggled with abandonment wounds. And it was one of the biggest wounds that a lot of us struggle with. And I struggled with this in my twin flame dynamic when I was with my twin flame. Every time he would leave, it was like clockwork. Every month, around the same time, around the same way, he would end up leaving. And the notice would always be very short. It would be like 1 or 2 days before he was going to leave. It would be like, hey, I'm going to leave to go see my daughters at back home. I'm going to leave on this day and then come back this day. Can you drive me to the airport? And can you pick me up? And I'm like no conversation, no nothing. And every time after that, like even when we weren't together, when he would leave to go somewhere, he would text me and be like, hey, I'm leaving. And I'd be like, where are you going? And it would bring up this huge abandonment wound. And I worked and worked and worked on it. And then finally, like I had one day I knew I had healed it within me. So I thought, and it came a random text, hey, I'm going on vacation, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the hell? And finally, I worked with a healer. They're doing emotion code and body code work where they have access to trapped emotions in your body. And literally in one of my sessions with him, he's like, oh my God, you'll not believe what's coming up. I go, what? He goes, abandonment. And he's like, but it's not yours. It's inherited abandonment. And I was like, no way. And he could see how many generations it was passed down. And this was an inherited trapped emotion of abandonment that was 14 generations deep. There was no way that I would have been able to access that and heal that on my own without his help, which is why I am such an advocate of working with other people because they can see parts of you that you can't see. And even as a healer myself, I would have never been able to access that because I don't have the tools to be able to do that on myself. And I didn't have the willingness to be able to access that myself. And so when it comes to the energetic part of things, the inherited trapped emotions, it's important to look at those things as well, because that's going to give us key insight to understanding why these patterns keep repeating. The next thing I want to talk about is the energetic body. And this is a huge piece that a lot of like coaches do not talk about. This is not actively talked about in the Twin Flame Collective. And this is something that I'll be diving more and more into because this is like energetic in general, not just on the Twin Flame journey. It's something that I feel very passionate about and something that I'm going to be studying and understanding more and more and more about. So I can teach this in a deeper level because the energetic part we have to remember is our aura. Our aura is constantly communicating with everyone throughout the day. Our aura expands out and our energy field expands out to be able to attract and to communicate with the things around us. And your energy field also holds patterns, just like your nervous system does, just like your body does. So your aura holds emotions, it holds residues of trauma, relational imprints, the templates that we've been carrying from lifetime to lifetime. And these patterns repeat because they're still energetically active within our energy body. So for example, with third party dynamics, there's an energetic pattern that's being replayed out that keeps creating third party dynamics within you. So if you are somebody that has had other relationships where there's been third party, and remember, a third party doesn't have to be another person. It can be a job. It can be an addiction. It can be anything that's coming between you and the person that you love to create some type of distance because there is a fear of deep intimacy, a fear of deeply and fully being seen and received, and a fear of being vulnerable as well. So another way that this shows up is through emotionally unavailability. And we have to remember that we attract our reciprocal. So if your energetic imprint in your emotional body is unavailable, you are going to attract an unavailable, emotionally unavailable partner. And that goes back to the lived experiences that you've had, the trauma that you've had, the things that you have been conditioned to believe. And so I encourage you to start exploring where else do these patterns live within you, because most people think that they just attract from their thoughts. A lot of people think you attract from your logical thoughts, but you don't. You attract mostly from your subconscious mind and through your nervous system, but you're also attracting through your energetic body as well, because the energetic body is constantly communicating, even when your words and when your thoughts aren't active. Because I remember thinking at one point in time in my journey, I was really neutral in a lot of thoughts. Like I wasn't having obsessive thinking about, I wasn't obsessively thinking about him. I don't have like really any negative thoughts in terms of towards myself or anything like that. But when it comes to my energy body and my physical body, that's where that lies. So I want to talk about why your energy body and why your physical body keep you stuck. I've talked about this a little bit throughout this video. But when we can bring it all back together and we can tie it together and give you a physical example, but an example of how this plays out in your twin flame journey. Let's talk about union, for example, because I know a lot of you feminines are wanting to manifest union. And yes, I believe that you can manifest union. Like you can manifest anything that you desire. Because the other thing too that I've learned is that whatever it is that you desire, that is something that that's on your heart, something that you want to manifest and create in your life. It's God's way of showing you that that is your path. And so when it comes to union, you can manifest it just like anything else in your life. However, most feminines are manifesting, whether it's union, money, a new job, whatever it might be, they're manifesting it from a dysregulated nervous system. They're manifesting from a depleted body. They're manifesting from escaping the reality that they're in right now. They're manifesting from an overloaded energetic field. And none of this will manifest union, will manifest the things that you're trying to manifest, because literally there is no room. There is no room for, and so you're literally trying to manifest something with no place for that manifestation to go. So for example, a lot of times you'll hear people talk about if you're wanting to manifest something, you have to create space, right? So say you're wanting to manifest money, you have to be able to allow yourself to hold that and to receive that amount of money. There also has to be a place for that money to go as well. It's the same thing with union. It's the same thing with anything that you want. You have to be able to have the space and the capacity to receive it and also to hold it, because you can't hold the relationship, the union that you desire in a body that actually doesn't feel safe. And so I want to take you through a little bit of a somatic exercise. And I want you to just get into a place where you can relax, allowing yourself to settle in and sit back and to be able to navigate through this with ease. And so I just want to have you take a big deep breath in. Take a big deep breath in through your nose, and then allow it to fill up your lungs, allow it to fill up your belly, allow your belly to expand. And then as you exhale everything out, allow yourself to ground in to your current place. Now, this next time when you're taking that big deep breath in, I want you not only to fill up your lungs and your belly, but expand that breath out into anywhere in your body that it feels tight. And as you exhale, visualize that tightness being pulled out by the breath, and then allow yourself to deeply connect into your body. See if you can pull your energy into like your root chakra. And now I want you to bring into your mind's eye, think about your twin flame, or like a trigger that you had recently in your life. It could have been a trigger from your twin flame that you're still trying to navigate and understand. I want you to bring that into your mind's eye and just simply see it for what it is. And so now I want you to begin to notice what is happening in your body, not in your thoughts, but in your body. Can you begin to locate the sensation? Maybe there's tightness, there's pressure, there's heat. And when you can begin to locate that, I want you to breathe into that place. Breathing in through your nose and bringing that breath down into that space, wherever that pressure, tightness, heat, whatever sensation it is that you have. Breathe into it. And then as you continue to exhale, allow yourself to connect to that part even more. And now I want you to stay present with it without assigning any meaning, without us trying to figure out what it's telling you. And can you continue to sit with it? And now begin to notice what starts to happen to that sensation. The heat probably dissipates. The tension probably begins to lessen. The pressure that you feel goes away. And continue staying present with it until it's completely gone. And if you need to, take a big deep breath into it again. And pause this video if you need to continue to stay with that. Because this is the moment where most people create stories. This is the moment where they try to figure things out. But this is where your power actually is. When you can sit with that sensation without labeling it, without trying to figure it out, and just sitting with it. Because when you can sit with this part of you without assigning any meaning, that's when things begin to shift and you begin to release that tension, that tightness, that heat. And this is the moment where most people actually get stuck because they want to start creating stories. They want to try to understand it. They want to try to fix it. They want to try to do something. But this is actually where, your power is. And the moment everything begins to shift for you, because you're now starting to teach yourself that you can sit with those things within you without having to create any stories, without having to fix it, and allowing it to be there, because then it will leave on its own. And that's the shifts that you're trying to create within your body. And this is the type of work that we're doing in Untangled this month. And Untangled isn't just about shifting your mindset. It's not about understanding more spiritual concepts about the twin flame journey. It's not about understanding why it is that your twin flame has chosen her and what his lessons are. It is about understanding how to regulate your nervous system. It's about pattern interruption. It's about energetic clearing. And it's about embodied integration of this work. And we start doing all of this work live on August 20th. And so if this is something that's resonating with you, then I encourage you to join this container and to be part of this transformative container that's going to help you understand where it is within you, where you're caught up in a third party dynamic within you, that triangulation within you. But not only that, what energetic patterns are keeping you in this dynamic, and the nervous system regulation and healing that is required for you to actually receive the union that you desire. And if you're wanting to stop this looping and start embodying a new version of you and utilize this connection as one of your biggest catalysts, then I am leaving the details down below in the description box. And I really hope to see you in there. And my friends, as always, it's an honor to be on this journey with you and walking this path and sharing my wisdom with you. And I would love to know what resonates with you, what's resonating, and what is it they're feeling is your next step that you need to do and your own personal journey. And as always, I will catch you in the next video. Until next time.